everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. This is our Talking Heartland show where we are recapping Heartland, and we are on season 4, episodes 11, 12, and 13. And it's going to be really fun. There's a lot of drama on these episodes. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle is here.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Not bad. Pretty good.
Yeah, we had a nice little Christmas break last week, and now we're back.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. And yeah, if you're listening and you haven't checked out our recap of the Christmas movie, you totally should. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But now we're back in our kind of continuity going forward of the characters and everything.
Yeah.
So
We're back in the drama.
Back in the drama. That's right. Yeah. So it starts out this episode, the first episode is called Mood Swings. And this the official summary says, when an irate Grant, Ty's travel buddy, shows up at Heartland to punch out Ty for kissing Blair, the disclosure puts Ty and Amy's relationship in jeopardy. Meanwhile, finding out that their marriage was not legal puts Caleb and Ashley into turmoil. All the relationship drama makes Lou question her marriage with Peter. So lots of drama going on here. And overall, what did you think about this episode?
This episode was crazy. I think a familiar theme in all of these 3 episodes was I really miss Amy just working with horses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just so much necessary drama, especially in this episode. I sort of looked up because I was familiar with the actress that plays Blair.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd kind of looked up and saw that she was coming back and thought, oh, that'd be good to see her, and how wrong I was. Yeah, this was crazy that she came back in this way of it really just felt like we had to break up Ty and Amy to create drama, but I just think this was not the best way to do it.
Yeah, I was not feeling Amy in these episodes, these really all 3 episodes. I just feel like that is not Amber Marshall's strength as an actress, to be playing kind of sulky and upset. And I really didn't agree with her position as the character's position, because it doesn't make any sense that she is so hard on Ty when she kissed Chase and it actually meant something. And here he's saying that he was kissed by Blair, but that it meant nothing. And so she's done something worse than what he did, and yet she's giving him such a thing about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of agree that maybe she's upset that she gave him the opportunity to say something and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But they're over a year into the relationship at this point, and I really think she should have given him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and said, I'm mad that you didn't take the opportunity to tell me the truth.
Yeah,
I don't think it's grounds to completely end the relationship.
Yeah, and you think that she could at least see his perspective of it meant nothing. Like that it's like she doesn't trust Ty.
Yeah,
when he
exactly.
says that.
Yeah. And it seems like Amy had kind of more complicated feelings in terms of Chase, and that's why it was, such a kind of difficult and different situation with her.
Yeah.
Whereas Ty didn't have any feelings involved with Blair.
Yeah, I guess sometimes on these kinds of shows and movies, I have a hard time relating to teenagers that have such such tragic, strong, whatever word you want to describe, dramatic love stories, because that's just, I don't know. I just feel like teenagers should just be going on dates and having fun, and shouldn't be making these forever decisions and these huge, I don't know. It's just, there was a movie at South by Southwest, this girl who ends up cheating on well, she's dating this guy that she knows is with another girl, and then she ends up he knows he's cheating, and there's just all this drama, and I'm just like, she's 15 years old. This is ridiculous. Like, what? And that's just not something that I can relate to very much. I mean, granted, now how old is Amy? What, she's 17, 18?
I think 18 at this
18.
point. Yeah, she's like in a gap year, I think, between high school and
Yeah.
what she's going
That
to do
was
next.
that was definitely certainly not my experience, that's for sure, when I was that age. I know some people do. I mean, my my best friend from high school is still married to her high school sweetheart. And so sometimes it does, but I don't know, it should just be fun.
Uh,
Dating, right?
I think with these shows, it is just, they just need the drama.
Yeah.
Um, it's fine if it comes from, it feels like it comes from a more kind of authentic, emotional place.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it feels, you can really see the writing. You can really see we need them to break up because they have been sort of happily together for such a longer period, like a long period of time for a
Yeah.
show. One of my favourite relationships on TV was Coach and Tammy on Friday Night Lights. They're an
Yeah.
adult couple, but there was never any question about cheating or if they ever
Right.
going to separate or break up. They had problems, but it was never a question of them ever ending the relationship,
Yeah.
ever.
Another
They were
good
just
example.
happy.
Yeah. Another good example like that is Marshall and Lily on How I Met Your Mother. Like,
Mm,
there was never a question that they, well, I mean, I guess they did technically break up, but once they got married.
relationships are very fragile on the show.
Yeah. But there was never any like question of them like cheating on each other or anything like that once they got married.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good example with Friday Night Lights, because you need that kind of base foundation, I think, for the drama to kind of swirl around sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and Amy's kind of rude to everybody. She's just kind of grumpy in these episodes. She's rude to Lou, and she's kind of rude to Mallory, and just to everybody. She's just kind of sulky, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and there's just things that happen with other relationships in the show, and she's just very self-involved about her breakup,
Hmm.
as opposed to like what her friends are going through, what her sister's going through.
Yeah. Well, so then we also have Ashley and Caleb, and Val shows up, and she's packing Ashley. And I mean, she's just not being sensible, right? Like, her daughter, just because there's not a paper saying they're married, the idea that, okay, she's just going to leave is just ridiculous. And I don't know. She's just frustrating as a character, Val.
Sometimes Val's, kind of like the third episode we're going to cover, she's kind of more the Val that I like, but then she just
Hmm.
flip-flops so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
just one extreme or the other. She's not really got much of a middle ground, and I prefer the
right.
kind of more evolved Val that we kind of see sometimes,
Hmm.
as opposed to this just like flying off the handle. Like, how is that going to convince
Yeah. It
Ashley to
just,
go home?
yeah, it's only going to make things worse. I mean, if you were going to try to convince her, you'd just say, "Hey, maybe just while we're sorting this out, why don't you come over? Why don't you stay?" Or something like
Mm.
that. Like, why would you want to be at her house when she's acting like that? Uh, and I don't know,
But
once
like,
the decisions has been made as a parent, I feel like then it's kind of like, yeah, you don't want your kid, your teenager to get pregnant, but once that has happened, then you move into a different mode. And okay, well, now we got to figure it out.
exactly.
So yeah, of course Ashley doesn't like that. And I don't know how she has all that luggage in the little trailer to begin with.
Yeah. They really fit a lot. That trailer is like the TARDIS.
Yeah, it is like the TARDIS.
Especially when Ty moves in. I'm like, where are all the people? Like,
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. And so Caleb has to sleep on the couch, tells her, I was happy with the idea of being married. I did like that that Jack and Tim are talking to Ty, and she says, they say, when Amy's upset, I'm upset. That's what Tim says. And Ty says, do you tell
Tim's
Janice?
always upset.
Yeah. And he says, do you tell Janice everything? Yes, she scares the crap out of me. That was funny. Um, and I do kind of like that Randa Fragone playing Janice actually gets to be a lead love interest on this show, because she never gets to in Hallmark. She's always the other
Yeah.
woman all the time. She just was this last and today on today's movie, Chasing Waterfalls. She was the other woman in that, and on Aurora Tea Garden, and
I've been listening to the audiobooks of Aurora Tea Garden,
oh yeah,
and they're not like R-rated or anything, but they're just a little bit more than the TV movies.
uh-huh,
But I still picture all of the actors in the roles.
yeah, I bet.
It's so weird.
Are they good?
They're okay. They're a bit more kind of Southern Gothic, kind of pulpy.
Okay, well, it's by that True Blood author.
Blood right, yeah. I was expecting a lot more, but it's kind of tame.
Uh-huh, yeah, that's what Amy said.
Yeah.
So Grant shows up and he punches Ty in the face. Yeah. That was pretty, he laid it on pretty good.
Yeah.
And then twice, you get 2 punches. And so that's how Amy learns what happened between Blair and Ty. And then Blair comes to visit and says that she lied to Grant because she was upset with him and she was trying to make him feel jealous. And that's why Grant shows up and just assaults people. You can't just do that. Like, what?
Crazy.
I mean, I know it's Canada and all that, but come on. And so then you have Mallory, and Mallory's getting frustrated with how she's being treated. Like, she's not one of the family, and she got grounded. And she at one point she says, I sound like Jack. What is happening to me? That was funny.
That was a good line.
Yeah. So then you have Caleb slugging Tim. And that was pretty dramatic.
Yeah, that was such a dumb fight as well. It's the fact that like Tim doesn't even take him seriously as he's like trying to fight him.
Yeah. Well, and Tim says a good man needs a strong woman behind him. And what do you think of that? Do you think is that super outdated? Not good
Yeah, well,
advice. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this show is pretty old in terms of, we're going back a bit of time, but
Yeah.
also it's sort of a more sort of like traditional show in terms of, the environment and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Like,
maybe
I
they have
think,
that mentality.
yeah, I think it fits Tim as a character to be saying something like that. And I think I'd be fine with it beside a good man needs a good one beside him as
Yeah.
opposed to behind him. I think
Yeah.
that's more my jam.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or even in front of him. Good man needs a good woman in front of him, not behind him. But and so then Peter's calling. Lou is again kind of avoiding his calls. I feel like we're just going through this cycle. But now she's sick, and the minute you hear that she's sick, oh, she's pregnant, and and Mallory figures it out before anybody else, and she's like, she's probably pregnant. And so then you have Ashley proposing to Caleb. That was a cute scene, I thought.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was
Mm-hmm.
cute.
Yeah. I wish that the two of them had better chemistry. I'm still not quite feeling it between them, because I don't know, if they had super good chemistry, I think it would be very swoon worthy and very sweet. And there's just something not quite
I
working
think
for
it was
me.
so rushed.
Yeah.
I do think, in an upcoming one, probably I think it's the third episode we're going to cover. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably my favorite episode with them.
Yeah.
But in terms of like all the lead up, and especially because we never saw the wedding, we
Right.
never saw any of that, so we never really saw what led them to make that decision, or so it just meant we weren't as invested as we should have been.
Yeah, because we didn't get to see them kind of sneaking
We saw them go on
around or
one
just
date.
being cute. Yeah, going on dates, things like that. There was no scene like with Ty and Amy dancing in the truck, like nothing
Nothing
like
like that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and but yeah, I wrote down, I said I felt like both Ty and Amy were being pretty annoying in this episode. He says, "Oh, I'm taking the high road." And I'm just like, "Oh."
Yeah, I wrote down this is the dumbest breakup ever.
Yes. And basically Amy's upset that he is attracted to other people.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's always going to be a thing. Like
Yeah,
you're humans,
yeah, yeah. She was
and
attracted to Chase in some like
yeah,
on some level.
and
So
she actually kissed him. And
yeah,
I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, her being upset to me.
she sort of
And
put him in a bit of an impossible situation when she started questioning him. I mean,
yeah,
what exactly? She's saying she doesn't want him to lie, but then if he doesn't lie, she's mad at the answer. I was just like, oh come on.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he says like, I actually think that there's something to it that's maybe more a sign of his devotion to her, that he says that he was attracted to her and that it meant nothing. I mean, that's showing that he's devoted to you,
Yeah,
right? And I mean, does she expect him to be a monk for his whole life, like, and never be attracted to anybody ever? That doesn't make
yeah.
any sense.
It just shows a lot of insecurity on her part, which
Hmm.
is crazy considering he's been nothing but you know
Yeah,
the model boyfriend
yeah,
since they got together, really. Well,
yeah.
since he came back, yeah.
So and then it ends with Lou announcing that she is pregnant. So what would you give this out of 10? Give this episode?
7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a pretty good score.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at the Bundle Game and Hardy's Ass Bundle Listen, from the creators of the Countdown to Christmas Hallmark Channel board game. There's now an official When Calls the Heart board game. Test your When Calls the Heart knowledge, recall your favorite show moments, and celebrate season 8.
This game is so much fun. Like the name 4 card, name your 4 favorite episodes of When Calls the Heart.
Not sure if I could narrow it down to just 4.
Or this acted out card, Love Triangle.
That's a fun one.
You can have these and many other cards in this fun game, When Calls the Heart board game. You can get your game at www.thebundlegame.com. Enter code Hallmarkies Podcast for free shipping. That's both words, Hallmarkies Podcast, free shipping. It's really fun. All kinds of trivia and fun stuff about your favorite show. So make sure to check out the When Calls the Heart board game at the www.thebundlegame.com. Enter code Hallmarkies Podcast for free shipping. So our next episode is Family Business, and this is the official description is Tim decides to enter his racehorse Lightning Dexter in a claiming race. Despite Amy's objections, Amy and Ty's troubles are aggravated when Chase comes to town and offers to put in a bid on Dexter. Meanwhile, Lou finds out that she's pregnant, and though Peter comes home, he really needs to be in Dubai. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
Sort of middle of the road episode for me.
Mhm.
Again, Amy is working with a horse in this episode, but it's Lightning Dexter. I just sort of miss those, emotional episodes with the animals, and there's just so much drama in these 3 episodes.
I didn't realize that Amy
Yeah,
was so attached to Dexter.
exactly. I mean, we know she's been working with him for months, but we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I would have
yeah,
understand
I
if it
just always kind
was
of felt like Martin is sort of her horse, and yeah, I just wasn't.
like if it was
It sort of came out of
Spartan.
nowhere a little bit for me.
Like if it was Spartan, I would have understood, but I just didn't
I mean, I
know
can
that.
see her being, yeah, I can see her being kind of upset at maybe him being pushed into racing again if she felt like it wasn't something you would be able to kind of do and stay healthy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just wasn't her being so upset. And Tim is, Tim's not my favourite, but he was sort of put in a impossible situation in this episode because it's not as if he's established in this world.
Mhm.
And it is hard when animals get involved and emotions get involved, but it is a business, and he kind of has to take his emotions out of it in order to just kind of build his brand as being in this kind of racing world. But yeah, it was just sort of
Yeah, because it's not like he's
drama.
selling the horse to the glue factory or something. Like it would seem like it would go to a good owner. So I didn't quite understand why it made Amy so upset because this isn't even a horse that's at Heartland.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not her horse either. So yeah, it was kind of strange. Um, and the guys that were wanting to buy it was, it was going to be pulling like a trailer. But Amy wants to use Dexter for jumping, so that's still a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still get injured doing that than pulling a trailer. So I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't quite get it, but anyway, yeah, Tim is explaining that he's in this to make money. He has a business, and Amy is very upset about that. And then you also have Caleb being kind of a pig and like
Yeah.
eating like a pig and being kind of gross. And
Yeah, it's
I
bad enough eating out of a pot, but doing it with a spatula. It's like, come
yeah,
on. Oh my God.
the joys of married life, I guess. And so Lou is excited for Peter to come back, and Peter tells her that he's going to stay at Heartland. He's going to work with people, teleconferencing and things, and I feel like this is something that's changed dramatically in the last year. It's just that we've all kind of become more accustomed to telecommuting. I mean, I've always been doing it for many years, but I feel like that line of kind of what we can do, uh, what we have to do face to face is practically gone away.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, in a year's time to see how many people actually go back to an office
Yeah.
and how many people, how many companies realize that they could probably save more money just by having people
Yep.
work from home.
Yep. And I think you have happier employees and less depression and things like that. I know
I know
for
so many
me.
friends that are like, so I have one friend that's went back to his office and he's, seen the difference of like the travel time and the
Mhm.
sort of all of that stuff and, your meals and things like that.
Yep.
I think just for mental health and physical health, it's really done wonders for people.
Yep.
Some cases, that might not be the case, but I know for some friends it's been really beneficial.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to go back doing a 9 to 5 or if I ever have to. Oof. I was actually just thinking about that today. I'm like, oh man, I would do almost anything to not have to go back to I called it cubicle hell. That's what I called it when I know it's great for other people, but it was not great for me. But anyway, so Peter's going to be trying to do his work there, and uh, and then you have this claiming race. That's one thing about Heartland is that I've learned way more about rodeo and about horses than I ever thought I would know. I never heard of a claiming race before.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, it's actually a pretty good idea in terms of, you're seeing your whatever it is you want to buy in action.
That makes sense. Yeah, and so Amy's very upset about that, and Mallory's upset because she's having to do Ty's chores because Ty is staying at Ashley and Caleb's, and even Ty's kind of disgusted by Caleb. He's like, gross. And he's not really even staying there. He's just sleeping outside. Like, that doesn't count. It's a place to sleep. I mean, he's not even sleeping in the car. If you have to be in a sleeping bag, like freezing, then that's not a viable solution. But
He's in university now. I mean, I suppose they're kind of constructing a way to keep him kind of involved with all the characters, but you think with him being like a student, he'd look into like student housing or like something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the very worst, couldn't he stay with Scott?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to see more Scott. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder what they think of these things. But Janice wants Tim to buy a different horse called the Burning Inferno. And to her, it's no big deal. She doesn't understand why everyone's making a big deal out of it. And I kind of agree with her. I did think it was kind of funny when Caleb gives Ty the shirt to clean instead of a rag. And he's like, what am I doing with this? Like, that was kind of funny.
It was boxer shorts.
Oh, was it? I thought it was a shirt.
It was boxer shorts, and it's like I only wore them once. I'm like, oh my
God. So you have Jack getting kind of upset in this episode with Lou wanting to turn this guest room, which was Marion's and then his wife's room. And so he says no. And this is about as vulnerable, I think, as we've seen Jack in a long time.
Yeah, he was so good in this episode and the next episode. Oh, so good. And we've seen this over and over with Jack. So I know Lou's sort of in this sort of mum mode of like focusing on her pregnancy, but this is still a man that's lost his first wife, lost his daughter. It's not something that has to happen tomorrow, which is the way that she was sort of acting and the way that she was wanting to approach things.
Yeah.
Really should have been like a gradual thing.
Right. I don't think that Lou realized how upset it would make her grandpa to ask for this. But there was a nice moment also between Lou and Jack when Lou says, I wasn't planning on being a single mom. And then he says, you have a family to lean on. And so then he decides to go ahead and let her make the nursery. But the whole process of doing that wound up being kind of more difficult than he thought. You also have Soraya in this episode that she hasn't seen Chase. She's kind of frustrated about that. You have Mallory getting a job she quits at Heartland.
I really see her point in this. I mean, not only is she having to do her own work, but Caleb calls in sick so that he could go run around with Ty, and so she has to do all of his work.
Yeah.
She doesn't technically live there. She doesn't. I mean, I think they are paying her at this point, but like, I'd much rather work in a cafe than do all that physical work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think mowing the lawn would be that bad because you just.
Oh no, I'd love that. Yeah, that would be great. But like the stacking the wood and the like, cleaning the stables and all of that kind of stuff, I'd be like, yeah, I'd just rather work in a cafe.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know. Working in a cafe would be pretty hard work as well, on your feet all day. But yeah, they're both not the best.
Yeah. Well, I was in catering for a long time, so I sort of like that hustle and bustle.
So Amy tells them that Dexter is lame, and Janice wants to sell it for a chuck wagon as part of the thing. And so that's kind of going back and forth. And you have this whole thing with Ty and Chase playing pool for the claim on Dexter. And it's going to be $5,000. So at first Jack wants to like break it up, but then he just kind of watches.
I do really like the development of Ty and Caleb's friendship. That's
Mhm.
something that I've really enjoyed seeing over the last 4 seasons.
Yeah,
I mean, they are really dumb together, but it is
it's
really
true.
nice to see how far they've come.
That's true. And so then Ty ends up splitting the 5K with Caleb so he can pay off his debts. And yeah, that friendship is nice. And then Soraya asks Amy about the chase and the wager and why they're doing all of this. You also have a scene in this episode with Ashley picking out the wedding dress. And Val's making a big deal of all of this. And Caleb says, we kiss and make up in the morning. It's like a reset button. No, but there's no reset button with Jack. And I don't know. I mean, this seems like not a great solution for marriage.
It feels like you would just have the same argument over and over.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like
actually, if you're not settling it.
Yeah. Well, and you have to deal with your problems. You can't just pretend like they go away.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, I think the whole idea of don't ever go to bed angry is stupid because sometimes you just need to rest on things and calm down. But also I don't think waking up and pretending like nothing happened is also not a good solution. I mean, I'm not married. What do I know? But hey,
same. But
it doesn't sound
it's
great
such
to me.
it's such a juvenile approach to like. I mean, I suppose their problems aren't like massive. They're still very young, but
yeah. So, what would you give this episode?
7 again.
All right. The last episode of our episode is called Last Song. And this is the summary is Jack resists taking a trip to France with Lisa while dealing with some old memories resurrected by remodeling Marion's room into a nursery. Caleb asks Ty to be his best man, but has difficulty asking him to move out as Ashley wants. Amy agrees to be a bridesmaid and at Ashley and Caleb's wedding. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
This was the best episode of the 3, in my opinion. I think it was the best episode for Ashley and Caleb so far. I thought the Lisa and Jack stuff was superb because, they go through a lot in this episode, but they don't break up. That's never, I think Lisa feels a bit kind of insecure, but it's never like their relationship's ending. They're both adults, they're both together, but, Jack's still allowed to have his feelings. And the whole sort of backstory with Lindy was so good as well. There's a few things that, I wasn't crazy about, but overall I thought this was a really strong episode.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think it was really good and very sweet, especially everything with Jack. But you have Val, she is going nuts being the momzilla of this wedding planning and wants to do it at the club and wants there to be a big bridal party, and Ashley is just not feeling it and is getting more and more frustrated.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ashley's, she grew up in that world, but it's never really seemed, since we've met her, it's never really seemed to be a world that she's really embraced, especially since she sort of left. So yeah, it's kind of, interesting that Val is sort of trying to push that world back on her again, inviting hundreds of people that she doesn't even know and things like that.
Yeah, she has over 200 people in the invite list, which is probably in Val's eyes is probably being modest because I mean she owns a business and my guess is she has a lot of people that she would want to invite to something like this. But that's the hard part about these kinds of events is that that I feel like they can get out of hand quickly. So Ashley says no bridesmaids. I did think it was kind of funny when they're like, what with Tatai was like, what are you doing with that rock? he's like, and he was so proud of that fire pit that he built.
He was such a child in this episode of
Yeah.
like proud of his work.
Yeah,
It was actually nice to kind of see him be, he's sad obviously that the relationship is over, but he's not sulking all the time. He's just
Yeah.
sort of being really done with Caleb, which has sort of been nice.
Yeah,
We do see a little bit of, Amy and Ashley, being friends
Yeah.
in this episode, which is really nice. But
like when they're all talking, like, he's like, don't forget, I made you that fire pit. And there's this whole thing with Tim. They find Tim's statue when they're renovating, that he won his prize, his trophy, whatever, and that he won from the rodeo days. And that becomes a whole plot of they lose the statue and then they try to buy it back and all kinds of craziness ensues.
yeah.
I
This
mean,
is a really
you think if it was in storage all this time that Tim wouldn't care about it very much.
yeah. I do like that Caleb sort of says he wasn't born when this happened.
Yeah.
He's been feeling old since Lou announced her pregnancy. He's been feeling his age a bit.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, Jack is struggling with the renovation and also going to Paris with Lisa. Is the idea he's just scared of flying or traveling in general?
I think he's scared of change. I think that's kind of the overall fear that he's got. And I don't think he's scared of flying in particular. I think he's just scared of maybe the world outside of his kind of little bubble of, Heartland and Alberta and that kind of world. And I don't think he's ever really had a passion or a want for anything more. So being with Lisa, who's so sort of worldly and wants to kind of, share that part of her life with him, I think it's still taking him a long time to.
It's
sort
weird
of,
because when he was with Lindy, didn't they travel
I
a
think they
lot for
travelled.
her music?
Yeah, I think they travelled, within sort of Canada and maybe America, but I don't think they would have been travelling all over the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like that Lisa sort of, she's pushing, but she's not pushing sort of, the way that Lou was with the room initially.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of seems to understand a little bit of,
Yeah. It was really cute at the end when he says, I miss Lindy sometimes, but I love you all the time. That was really cute.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It was so nice to sort of see them be so kind of mature and stable, especially when we've had all this kind of nonsense of Lou and Peter and then Amy and Ty.
Yeah.
It was sort of nice to see them be so stable.
And he says, one time I will go to Paris eventually. Yeah. Then you have Caleb asking Ty to be his best man, and then Ashley asks Sarah and Amy to be bridesmaids.
Mm-hmm.
Amy's kind of sad about the room changing as well because it was her mother's room.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Lou is planning on being there for a while. I mean, if she's setting up a nursery.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's interesting, we don't really have much of a handle on Lou or Peter, but he seems sort of really okay with the fact that she's sort of building a whole life at Heartland.
Mm-hmm.
You think, especially with a baby on the way, you'd probably want a base and
then you buy a house.
Yeah.
Because he says, oh, well, I've got my condo. I mean, he's supposed to be pretty wealthy, right?
Yeah, and I think they actually bought a house before they made a decision to move to Dubai, and that house was sort of closer to Heartland, so it's not like they can't do that again.
You think at the very least they would just stay in one of the cabins at the Dude Ranch.
It's a strange setup. I suppose with having the actor coming in and out so much that they really need Lou to kind of be with the family. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like since we never really felt their chemistry that much to begin with, it's just hard to deal with this continual cycle of will they, won't they, as a married couple. Hopefully, they stop that now that she's pregnant. We'll see, I
Yeah.
guess.
The last episode, he was going to stay through the pregnancy and he couldn't even do that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, what's going to happen when the baby actually comes?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess so. So then you have you have Trevor, this guy Trevor Darling coming talking to Caleb, and then they have this like drinking contest. Jack backs out of going to Paris. Lisa says it's important, and it says maybe your fear of flying is stronger than your fear of losing me, which was uh, I thought, a good like a well done moment between the two of them. They were really good. I like what's her name? The actress who plays Lisa. She's really good.
Yeah, I see her in Hallmark movies quite a bit. She's always like the mom or
Yeah. Jessica Steen. We should try to interview her. She's really good. But yeah, then you have Ashley and Soraya tell Amy about the money that that 5K, and then you have a scene where Jack dreams of Lindy and didn't know if we would make it work, but we got through it. That was a very sweet scene, I thought.
Yeah, that was a really good scene. It could be really, really corny and not work, these sort of flashback scenes, but I really think they really fit the tone of the show and it's done really well.
Yeah, and Jack writes a song. He has the song that Lindy wrote.
Yeah,
And
I
he
think it's just
plays it.
sort of like a couple of verses in a chorus, so he sort of finishes it, I suppose.
Right. That was really nice. I don't know if we had him singing before.
I think this is the first time we've seen him singing, but I know the actor just from seeing him on sort of social media and things. He has like a big sort of, he's really into his music.
Oh, really?
He sings quite a bit. Yeah.
That was nice that we got to hear him. I liked, so then Ty says, why don't you just have a barbecue? You got the fire pit right for it. For the wedding.
He's all about the fire pit. Just build your whole wedding around the fire pit.
Yeah. And so that's what they do. They have the wedding right there at the fire pit. And they get married, and that was fun.
Yeah. It ended up being kind of like a really beautiful setting because even though it's right where they live, it's, a beautiful sort of piece of land. So I would prefer kind of outdoor weddings. I think they're more, especially on TV, they're more visually appealing than, unless it's like a really beautiful church wedding. Fair enough. But these sort of, really stale weddings that you see on TV sometimes, you're like, oh, we waited all the movie for that.
My brother and sister-in-law got married in the mountains with wildflowers around them. It was they had Justice of the Peace marry them, and then we went down to this house my parents have. They have this little pioneer house, and we had the reception there. It was pretty small, but that was a really nice little wedding, and it was beautiful. And my sister-in-law had a pretty simple dress and then had cowboy boots on. It was fun for her look. It's kind of, I do think that's nice when you can be in nature. I mean, all different kinds of weddings are nice, but I thought this was nice for them. And Val shows up, which is nice, and gives them a vacation in Rome. So, and I didn't know that was a big dream of Ashley's. She made it seem like, oh, I'm giving you your dream. Like, oh, that's her dream? Who knew? So that should be fun.
Caleb didn't even know where is it. She said that you can get like a villa in Tuscany. Like, where's Tuscany?
Right. I'd rather. Can you put that money into us actually having more than this little trailer? That's what I'd want. But so then you have Ty and Mallory dancing, which was cute.
Yeah.
And Lou says, "I miss those guys." So, and we said marriage is like the rodeo, and that's when Jack sings the song at the wedding. And then he says, like I already said, he says, "I miss Lindy sometimes, but I love you all the time." So here we go. So what would you give this out of 10, this episode?
Probably 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this one the best.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's a good score. So let us know what you think of these 3 episodes and what rating you would give them. And we'll continue on. We'll be continue on with season 4 next week. And it should be really fun. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. And make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group, and we have our merch store, which has Heartland inspired merch. So check that out. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone.